The following is a local resident producer's program. The program content is the sole responsibility of the producer and does not necessarily reflect the views or policies of CATV2, Oshkosh Community Media Services, the City of Oshkosh, or Time Warner Cable.
Everybody, welcome to Eye on Oshkosh. Cheryl Hentz here, and we're very pleased to welcome someone from the Oshkosh Area Humane Society tonight who has not been with us in the past, even though people from the shelter have been on multiple times and will continue to be. Nikki Hronis is here, and Nikki is a volunteer with the shelter. A few months back, when the shelter kicked off its life-saving mission to not euthanize animals anymore for space reasons, we had on shelter executive director Joni Geiger and their community education person, Cheryl Rosenthal, and they were just starting to kick the program off then. Nikki is here to kind of give us an update on where things are at. And for people who are, you know, maybe new to this and hadn't seen the previous episode, we're going to kind of go back and talk a little bit about the history and what this mission does and that kind of thing. So if you've seen that aspect of it before, bear with us, and you never know. Sometimes you might learn something that you missed the first time around. So anyway, Nikki, thank you for being here. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Cheryl. This is so wonderful of you to allow me to come on and talk to you about, and your viewers, about this really exciting life-saving mission we are on now at the Oshkosh Area Humane Society.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that, and then later on we'll talk about, with the holidays coming up, you know, some things to keep your pets safe and so forth during the holidays.
Sure.
Giving giving pets as gifts, that kind of thing.
Yes.
We'll talk a little bit about the new puppy mill legislation that, as we tape this, has not yet been signed, but by the time this airs, Governor Doyle will probably have signed it. And so we're going to talk about kind of a hodgepodge of things tonight.
Absolutely.
And if there's time, you're on the new Urban Wildlife Committee that the city has kicked off, and we'll touch a little on that if there's time.
Okay.
So we got a full agenda. So let's
All right.
talk about the life-saving mission. For anyone who may have missed it several months ago, you know, tell viewers what it is. What are you guys trying to do there?
Well, we are now in the business of saving lives, and we are professional life savers. And being a life-saving shelter means that we no longer have to sacrifice any animals' lives because of a space problem at the shelter. Now, remember, we continue to be a full-service shelter, and we will not turn an animal away simply because we are full. But you need to really, your viewers really need to process what I just said. We are a life-saving shelter. In other words, we're not putting animals down anymore for lack of space. This is really monumental and premier for this area. No other shelter is doing this. And I have to clarify this a tad, because some people say, well, we're not sure what that means. You mean you were before? Yes, we were. In the year prior to last May, when we initiated this new program, over 400 animals lost their lives in our shelter because we just didn't have space for them. So as of May 1st of '09, which was, what, four or five short months ago, Joni Geiger had attended, actually in April, she attended a seminar out in Nevada. I think that was a huge seminar given by the United States Humane Society, and she learned of the Reno shelter, which had adopted this life-saving model. And it so impacted Joni that she realized this is the best thing we can do for animals and the most humane thing. So she brought this model back to Oshkosh, and as of May 1st of '09, the model was instituted.
Okay, and we're now at November 19th, so in the last 6 months or so, how have things been going?
Well, I am so glad that you asked me.
I had a feeling you'd probably have those stats
I just
somewhere in
happen
that
to have
paperwork.
these numbers here. And it was part of what I was going to get into, but this is cool. Is the new model working? Absolutely, and this is what's so exciting about it. I am excited about it. As of May 1st, we did our numbers. May 1st to September 30th of '09, we saved 464 cats and 251 dogs. We did 730 in-house surgeries. Our adoptions were up 41% from last year, and our euthanasia dropped 29%.
That's astounding. Those are some astounding numbers. And Nikki, are those all as a direct result of this mission?
We are, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And now I have to do a little postscript to that. You know, coupled with all these wonderful numbers, our intake has increased 13.5% because we are a life-saving shelter. People are, you know, bringing us their animals if they have to surrender them or if they're finding strays. Instead of having that mindset, oh, we can't take it to the shelter because they're too full and they'll get put down, that mindset has been erased. So our intake is up 13.5%, and we're also attributing that increase to the economy. I know everybody's getting tired of hearing that, but the fact of the matter remains, we have people that are losing their homes, going to rentals, they can't afford to keep their animals or they're not allowed to. So thank goodness they're bringing them into the shelter. So yes, the numbers are very, very encouraging at this point.
Well, and you know, this truly is a wonderful model, and those figures I'm really impressed with, as I would hope anyone would be. You know, anyone who loves animals, as we do, no less, and even those who don't love animals. I mean, you got to be impressed with numbers like that. One of the things that you know, kind of drives me nuts a little bit, but I understand where the confusion comes from, is I happen to see on someone's Facebook page that the Oshkosh Area Humane Society is no longer, that they are now a no-kill shelter. And I think people really don't understand what a no-kill shelter is and what it isn't. And you are certainly in a better position probably than I to explain this, but a no-kill shelter, as I understand it, is a shelter that doesn't put any animal down for any reason, whereas a shelter such as ours here will put an animal down if there's significant health problems that can't be helped, if an animal is there for such a period of time that its temperament starts deteriorating.
It becomes a danger to others or itself.
Or itself, yep. If it's just for some reason unadoptable.
Correct.
And in a case like that, putting the animal down, if it's not going to find a home, is probably the most humane thing that you can do.
Right.
And I think
last resort.
Yes, and last resort, yes. And I think the other part of that is what people don't understand is the true no-kill shelters that do not, you know, put down animals for any reason. When they're full, they're full.
Right.
And they then have the option, and oftentimes do exercise it, that if they have no room, if there's no room in the inn, they simply say, I'm very sorry, we're full.
Right.
And then you have to figure out where you're going to go with that animal. And sometimes the end result is worse than just humanely putting an animal to sleep.
Absolutely, yes. And a no-kill shelter, the best example I can give you of that is Best Friends Animal Society out in Kanab, Utah.
Yes.
3,500 acres, no kill. The animals are there no matter what their physical, mental temperament, and they live out their time. Okay, that is a true no kill. We are not in a position to have that kind of space and house animals, even if they're the meanest dogs, the worst abused dogs, they're still living out their time in a no-kill shelter. And as you hit the nail on the head, we are not a no-kill shelter. We are a life-saving shelter. All right, so there is a big, big difference. And yes, as a last resort, as I said, I think our euthanasia dropped 29%. It's still happening, but only in the most extreme circumstances, either medically or temperamentally, will an animal be placed down. If everything we've tried has failed, if there's, last resort. Last resort.
And just one thing about best friends, they have, when you've got these kinds of acreage, that you're dealing with, you can literally take in almost any animal, and I think they do. They're an absolutely wonderful organization.
Yes, they are.
And I don't know if they turn animals away as a no-kill shelter, because I just can't see where you'd run out of space.
They don't.
In a place like that. But there are some no-kill shelters here in Wisconsin, and they do have severe space constraints, like most shelters do.
Right.
So I just wanted to bring that up, not because I want to, point a finger at anybody and say this is bad, this is good. I just think people need to understand the distinction.
Difference. Right, absolutely. I agree with you. They need to, and we have a whole different set of needs and components that make the life-saving shelter mission or model work.
One of those, of course, and probably one of the biggest, is your reliance upon, foster homes.
Oh, I have a whole laundry list.
I'd really like to talk about the foster homes, because I know when Joni and Cheryl were here the last time, we were talking about their need for all these foster homes. And so, 6 months later, where are you at with foster homes, and how is that? I mean, obviously it's working. The model is working, the mission is working.
Yes.
Have there been a lot of people who have stepped up?
I wish I could say a lot, only because I think we haven't been able yet to get out there and educate, which is what we're trying to do now, and thanks to you, it's starting, and I'll get into that shortly too, but to address the foster opportunity, I call it an opportunity, and I promote it as much as I can, and anybody can promote it. Any person or family can become a foster placement, and this is purely to help with our life-saving mission and to provide a loving temporary home to animals. They might be too young or too sick to go out into adoption immediately, and it allows the animal to become stronger and healthier before it actually is able to be placed up for adoption. And fostering is an opportunity. I've had parents come up to me at adoption events and say, we'd really like to adopt a kitty, but I'm not so sure if our kids are ready for this yet, or if they're ready to take the responsibility. And I always encourage them to look into fostering first as a great get your feet wet kind of experience, and a wonderful, wonderful thing you can do to help our mission at the shelter. Foster parents are provided with the food and the supplies, such as the litter or the feeding dishes or the toys. And right now, to answer your question specifically, Cheryl, we have about 50 homes that have stepped up to the plate and are fostering, but 20 core homes that are fostering all the time. Okay. And then some of them are seasonal, and the others obviously are year-round. And we offer, if people are even sort of kind of interested in helping this way, Sharon Wagner is our contact person at the shelter, and a foster care introduction class is offered the second Thursday of every month at our shelter from 6 to 7 p.m. And Sharon will walk everybody through the process. It's an application process, and take it from there. We primarily now need help with the cats. We have over 200 cats that we're, trying to take care of, and so we always have 3 times more cats than dogs at our shelter.
Well, and that's just the way it is. That's the way cats, they proliferate, they multiply faster than I think anybody really realizes, and that's why spaying and neutering is so important. And we can,
I'm so glad you brought that up.
We can get into that, a little bit later. But so basically, if someone wants to foster, and they can foster one or they can foster more than one, and one thing that I found interesting when Cheryl and Joni were here the last time is because I know here in the city, and I think most communities have restrictions or limits on how many pets you can have. In the city of Oshkosh, it's no more than 3 dogs and 2 cats, or you can have 2 dogs and you can have up to 5 animals, no more than 3 dogs though, in your home. But when you're fostering, the foster animals do not count against that number. And that was something that I learned.
Yes.
I used to serve on the board of directors at the shelter. I've had a close relationship with you guys for a long time, and I thought I knew a lot of what's going on over there, and in fact I do, but that was one thing I didn't know.
Right, and remember, Cheryl, this is a temporary placement.
Yeah.
So that factors into the equation too.
And so, if someone out there is considering maybe doing this and they think that they can't because they're at that magic number that the city has set, fostering doesn't count toward that number.
That's right.
So you guys are providing the food, you're providing the litter, the
dishes,
toys.
The dishes.
If the animal, because I know that you probably do this with dogs, more so with cats, but probably with dogs as well. If the animal needs some kind of medical attention, how is that taken care of?
The medical costs are usually pre-approved by our staff, the Humane Society staff, so that, or a foster home, it's in some cases will offer to assume the expense.
That'll be kind of like their donation.
Correct.
Sort of.
Correct. So it's kind of by a placement by placement, issue, and these animals, of course, when they've come in, they've been quarantined initially. They have their medical needs are being met, but if it's kind of an ongoing thing, we work with the foster family as far as the expenses are concerned, or some of them just step up to the plate. We have people that donate. We have a fund just set up for that they donate, and that money goes in there, and that offsets some of the costs of that type of thing too.
Okay, all right.
It's very cool.
Okay, good. So what else do we need to know about this life-saving mission? What are some of the other needs besides foster homes that you guys need?
Well, I'm going to give you a little spiel here, okay?
Okay,
Am I allowed to do that? Okay.
Sure, hey, you're the guest. You do what you want.
Well, I think people should know that we service 2,500 animals a year right here in Oshkosh. And as I said earlier, it's 3 times as many cats as dogs. It's just the way it is. And our budget, I just checked with Joni. I had a meeting with her earlier this week. Our budget is approximately $670,000 a year to run that shelter. Okay. Now, people ask me, I represent our shelter at other functions, and people will say, well, what does the city give you?
Not that much.
Well, we have a contract with the city that we deal with the strays. We pick them up, we house them, that type of thing. And that comprises 13% of our budget. We also get around $14,000 from dog and cat licenses. So that leaves a big space here to meet the operating expenses. And Joni also suggested, too, that I remind the public that we are a nonprofit organization. We do not get any help from United Way or any other national groups like the ASPCA or even the United States Humane Society. Even though we are a humane society, we don't get any kind of monies from them. And we do not get any county or state tax dollars. So logic would dictate, in order for us to continue to be a life-saving shelter, a big part of our success depends on the community stepping up and to help the animals and to be able to allow them to be in other kinds of situations when our space constraints are taxed. So this is why the life-saving model is so important, and I do have all kinds of suggestions on the way people can help. And I also want to, people are saying, well, what's different? How is this different than before? Well, there's a lot of aspects of this that have to come together for this to happen. First of all, we'll start with adoptions. Our adoption process has been streamlined. We shorten up the wait time on adoptions. People hear back from us between 24 to 48 hours after they apply. We follow up. Even though you've adopted, we want to know, call you, how's it going, and that type of thing. We're doing a lot more promoting. You know, we spend more money in this country marketing a hamburger than we do, you know, the beautiful dogs and cats we have in our shelters.
And yet, one of the biggest amounts of disposable income in this country, you know, is spent on elderly people and pets, because we love our elderly people and we love our pets.
Absolutely.
And that's where so much disposable income goes, and yet the marketing aspect,
absolutely,
it's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah,
in
so,
some
you know,
respects.
I think we have to approach it from a different model, a business model. If we can't get customers into our store, we're going to get our product to the customers. Not that I'm calling our dogs and cats our products, but we're bringing our animals to the people. We're doing in the community adopt-a-thons. We just had a very successful cat frenzy out at the Y a couple months ago. One-day event, big production. A lot of promotions. Right now I'm working with Jones Sign. I want to see if I could get us some digital exposure on our billboards. So we need to promote, which is something we're starting to focus on. We're doing reducing prices on older animals for people. We're doing senior animals for seniors. You know, we're doing all kinds of catchy things to promote and get some visibility for our beautiful animals. Or on petfinders.com, people can, if they don't want to come in right away, they can look at all the pictures and do all the reading. I'm also hoping to form partnerships, more partnerships with businesses. Petco has been good to us. They allow us to do tabling events in their store. They've sold some of our bunnies in the store when we get an excess amount of bunnies. They put them in the store for us to sell. And I would love for local businesses to use our animals in their advertising. You know, who did the car ad with the Dalmatian? I can't remember him, but I sure remember that beautiful dog in his commercial.
Oh, was that? I should know that because
Appleton, was he? He was
he was up at Appleton. I should know that because I have Dalmatians.
Yeah,
well,
you should.
I have 2 Dalmatians. I have another dog as well, but
yes.
Was it Les Stump?
It could be.
I don't know, but it was someone.
Yeah,
and now of course we see Goldens used so much too.
Right, and you know, we have, all of our animals are beautiful. I don't care what you say, you know, they're all beautiful in my eyes. And I would really challenge local businesses to pick up the phone and call us. If you need a pretty furry face in one of your ads, not only does that help us expose the animal, people are going to remember your ad because of our animals.
Well, and that is true. And you and I talked on the phone about this, you know, a few weeks ago, because as you drive down Highway 41, as you're heading south, like from the Appleton or Neenah Menasha area, well, it might be past Neenah Menasha, but certainly if you're coming to Oshkosh from Appleton, there is a billboard for a realtor. I want to say his name is Carl Volkman or something like that. I don't know for certain what his name is, but I'll tell you what I remember about his billboard, and that's that he has a beautiful golden retriever on that billboard. And I think it's maybe his own dog, I don't know, but it appeals to, it certainly appeals to me because I remember it, and I'm sure it's appealing to every other animal lover out there.
Absolutely.
You know?
And I really would encourage local businesses to pick up the phone and say, even if it's a little short bit for a holiday, you know, it would be a wonderful service for us and wonderful for our animals, and definitely a win-win situation for the business person also.
Well, elderly, kids, and pets. I forgot the kids earlier because that's actually bigger than the elderly. You know, but I mean, look at the ads, the very successful advertising campaigns you see on TV. Yes. Cottonelle using golden retriever dogs or puppies. One in particular, Dirt Devil, has used golden retrievers.
Isn't he great? I mean, my goodness.
For years.
Yeah.
You know, you see them everywhere. You can't go through a half an hour of television viewing without seeing at least one commercial with a dog or a cat in it.
Yeah.
You just can't. I haven't been able to.
And we'll lend ours to the business for free. We're happy to have the exposure. You know, this helps people. You know, the more people see our animals, you know, the better it is for everybody.
You know, in a case like that, though, Nikki, do you have? I mean, is there a requirement that there be some kind of a disclaimer on the commercial that the animal is available for adoption or something? Because
that would be great.
Because otherwise, how else would anyone know if it's their own pet or
Sure.
You know, one from the shelter.
One line.
Okay.
You know, that's really all we need. I can get a lot of stuff in one line.
I bet you can, because I'm looking at all the stuff you've got on these pages. I'll tell you what.
I do. So that's another aspect of an avenue for us to explore to make the life-saving mission a success. Pet retention. We're developing, we're fine-tuning, and we've had a help desk all along, but we're going to make it better. We want to help people keep their pets in their homes. We don't want animals coming back to us. We want to involve the owners in solutions. If they call and say, Fluffy's scratching up my couch, what can we do? And a help desk can help them with that. Or we can make referrals. We can, you know, who's a landlord in town that lets us rent if we have a dog? We can help them with that information. So we really want to jack up the help desk. And Joni said to me that's something they're going to be focusing on. So that is a new and improved change. Our staff has been phenomenal. They're even going to be more phenomenal now with the new mission. Our staff delivers quality customer service. I see it when I walk in. They're personalizing, they're greeting everybody that comes in. They've always done it, but we're doing it even more. And of course, always have provided excellent care to our animals, and that will continue. We partner with other groups also, like rescue groups or individual rescuers. So if you came in and said, Nikki, I want a greyhound, and we don't have one in the shelter at that time, we would be able to pick up the phone and maybe call a greyhound rescue and hook you up on an adoption with somebody like that. So these are all new and improved things we're doing for the life-saving model. And of course, then the big aspect of this, and this is the really exciting stuff, is involving the community in our work. And I have a little laundry list here of how people can help.
All right.
But I'm doing a lot of talking. Maybe you want to do some.
Let's hear the laundry list, because you know, it's not just about foster homes, and it's not just about financial donations. I mean, you guys, you need toys, certain kinds of toys. You need blankets. You need bleach, you know, to keep the kennel areas clean. You have a lot of needs that I think sometimes people just don't really think about.
Yeah, and you know, bleach is not expensive, but
No.
we go through a lot of it.
Yeah.
Because we're always cleaning. If you go to oahs.org,
And we've been putting that up.
thank you so much. We always have a wish list on our website. And you know, if any kind of donation off that wish list is so appreciated, because these are kind of the ongoing things that we need all of the time. But a key component of making the new life-saving mission work is community involvement. And there's so many different levels of it. Obviously, adopting, making adoption your first option. I say it over and over and over again. I don't want to downplay breeders, and I don't want to get into that right now, but we have a lot of nice purebred dogs that come through our shelter, and beautiful purebred kittens and cats. And before you look at anything else, please check out what we have at petfinders.com. Make adoption the first option. That in itself right there is a tremendous help. You know, or come in and see what we have, and spend some time with our critters, and take the dog for a walk, or spend some time in the playroom with the cat. And you might come in there with an idea that I want this and that for a special, but then sometimes you completely change your mind once you get in there, and that's the cool part about it. Another way the community can help is to donate. Now, I'm not talking just money here. Okay, money's great, and I'll take that. We'll take that. That's a wonderful thing. But and we have different ways to do that. We'll take gift cards. We can use gift cards to buy supplies from Fleet Farm or Walmart or Festival. We have people that their workplaces. I would suggest we have a Humane Heroes program where you can commit to a year, $25 a month, and you're sponsoring an animal. And Humane Heroes can be done as an individual, or I highly encourage businesses to become Humane Heroes. Your business can sponsor 1 or 2 animals for a year, and that's a revenue that can be depended on, and you get a thank you letter, and your name is up, and you know, it's really a great way to give. Matching, like if we did a fundraiser And we did a bake sale for the shelter, and we raised $500. I would challenge another local business, if I raise $500, will you match this? You know, so there's a creative way to generate a donation. In kind, if you have services you can donate. If you do have a cleaning service and you want to come in and donate a week of cleaning or landscaping or maintenance or whatever, you know, all of these kinds of things are so appreciated to offset that huge expense I mentioned earlier in the broadcast. Another way the community can get involved is to volunteer. Now I have friends that say, oh, I can't go over to the shelter and volunteer because then I'm going to fall in love and I'm going to be upset and I want to bring them all home. Okay, fine. I'm not over there 24/7. I'm the same way. But there's other ways you can volunteer. We do events out in the community. We need help. If you need to sit behind a table and sell T-shirts for us, that's a help. Or answering a phone, or helping with mailings, or helping us set up the adopt-a-thons, or working with other volunteers. There's so many different ways, or taking the classes through when they come through. There's so many levels of volunteering. We have elderly people that come in and they just sit and pet the cats or walk the dogs. You know, I mean, there's that kind of volunteering too. Yep. But then there's the off-site kinds of volunteers that we need that are so key to what we're trying to do and get the word out. We talked about fostering, which is super. We also are big supporters of spay and neuter.
Yes.
Every animal that leaves our shelter is spayed and or neutered.
Yeah, it'd be tough to do both.
Both, yeah. I don't know. But, and they all have their first round of shots or inoculations. And this is where I mentioned where we did the how many in-house surgeries, 700 and some. We have wonderful vets in our community that come and donate their time. We still have major expenses, you know, to cover for the surgical procedures. But people, you know, all the time they say to me, well, you know, I've got a dog at home and I don't want to get it fixed because, you know, we want our children to experience the miracle of birth and puppies. And it's like, what are you going to do with all these puppies? Oh, well, we'll find homes from. Well, what if you don't? Who's going to get them? The Oshkosh Area Humane Society. Please don't do that to us.
Well,
you know?
but not only that, but there's another aspect to that, and
Correct.
you know, you probably would have touched on it. For every dog or cat that someone who just wants to have their kids experience that life cycle, if you will, that is taking away a home for an animal that's already here, that has been, you know, housed at the shelter for whatever reason.
Right, and we also have to keep in mind, Cheryl, that the longer an animal is at our shelter, the more stressed it becomes. It's just a fact. You know, so as you just said, you know, we discourage that proliferation at home of animals. Spay and neuter, not only does it help move our animals out of our shelters quicker, but it also allows your animal to live longer and a healthier life.
It is healthier.
And it even out the temperament. I just read this article, and I belong to the ASPCA, and they sent me there was an article in there that I had to write this down because it took me a while for it to process it. One female cat and her offspring in 7 years can produce 420,000 cats.
It's almost as bad as rabbits if you think about it.
And I bet I read that 10 times, and then I wrote it down. I thought, oh my God, you know. So if there's ever an argument for spay neuter,
well, I know, and that's exactly why, Nikki, you guys and every other shelter always has so many more cats than dogs, and an uncertainty as to what to do with them all.
Exactly.
And where you go with them all.
Absolutely. And they're all beautiful animals. They're all beautiful animals. So spay, neuter, I can't stress it enough. That in itself is helping your shelter no matter where you live. And then also what other people can do, there's a couple other things here that you can do to help. If you can't help in any other way, become a promoter for homeless animals or spay neuter. You know, if it comes up in conversation, you know, promote spay and neuter. Promote, you know, our shelter and what we're doing and the work we're doing. Which brings me to my next point. I am available to come and speak to any organization, club, service group about our life-saving mission. I can tailor the presentation to any size group. I can do visuals, any time slot. I am excited to get out in the community and educate people about what we're doing. Because this is so key to our success.
Well, Nikki, how do people, if they do want to take advantage of that offer to have you come and speak, how do they reach you? Do you want your number given out, or do they contact the shelter and the shelter then contact you? How does that work?
You know, I'm okay with people contacting me directly. They can contact me via email. They can call at the shelter and ask for my information. I think I gave it out to you in my email.
Yeah, let's give it out to the people right now then. What is your home phone?
Let's
just do it.
Yeah, I have all these people calling me. I hope 426.
Yes.
1471.
All right.
I'm available to speak to your group. And my email is my first and last name in lowercase letters at yahoo.com.
Okay. And so Nikki, N-I-K-K-I, and the last name Hronis.
That's right.
At yahoo.com.
Right. And please invite me. I will come and talk. We have to remember that animals have only one chance in life, and it's through us. So we got to do what we can for them.
Well, that's true. And I wanted to make one other point about donations to the shelter. If you're in doubt about whether or not the shelter actually needs something, you know, give them a call and ask them. Case in point, I had replaced one of my laptops, and I no longer, I didn't, you know, there's something about computers. You don't want to just throw them out or dispose of them in a way that no one's going to have any use. And I called Joni and I said, hey, do you guys have any use for a laptop? It's not that old, it's not as fast as the one I just bought, but, you know, do you have a need for it? And she said, absolutely. So I just took all my stuff off, cleaned it up, and I took it down. I get the tax write-off. You guys got a laptop.
And I'll probably get to use that in a PowerPoint or something.
Well, there you go.
So thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome. And it's a nice laptop. It's a nice laptop. So, you know, if you're in doubt about something, you know, call and ask them.
You know, and I'm glad you brought that up, because we do have specific programs. Sometimes people, bless their hearts, they say, well, I want to give money towards this specifically. And if we have a minute, I could...
Sure, go ahead.
I mentioned the Humane Heroes. People can sponsor the care of a cat and dog with a pledge of $25 a month, and that would be a year commitment. We have a program called Home at Last. You can sponsor the adoption of cats that are 3 years or older. And then we have the dog version, My Best Friend. That's sponsoring the care and adoption for dogs that are especially older. We have a program called SNP. I don't know if I need to explain that any further. But
no, that probably is pretty self-explanatory.
That's our spay-neuter in-house spay and neuter. We also have planned giving, the Living Legacy Society. If you're wanting to include us in your estate planning, I highly encourage it. We have a Cuddles Fund. That's a special medical fund for animals that are needing major medical care. We also have sponsor and adoption. If you already have a pet, but maybe you're hoping you want to throw some money towards the adoption for another family to adopt a pet, and that would offset the costs for them.
Okay.
So those are specific kinds of programs if you are wanting to donate.
Now, you know, these are delicate financial times for a lot of folks.
Oh, yes.
And sometimes circumstances change when you least expect it. Say, for example, someone wants to do the $25 a month sponsoring of an animal. They can afford it when they sign up for it. All of a sudden, circumstances change. They lose their job. You know, any number of things can happen, and they can't do that anymore. Either they can't do it entirely anymore, or they just can't do as much.
Right.
I can't imagine that you guys would say, by God, you said you were going to, and we're going to hold you to that.
No, we totally understand, and we're flexible on that. No, we totally understand. It's okay. So, and you know, we're gearing up for the holidays and our holiday drive, you know, and So we understand how these things are. It's, you know, Cheryl, it's tough for all nonprofits now.
Yeah.
Well, no matter what your focus is.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Well, is there? You mentioned holidays, so I want to get into that just a little bit. But is there anything about the life-saving mission, Nikki, that we haven't touched on yet that you think would be important? I mean, it's not like if you can't think of anything right now, and then all of a sudden, you know, it comes back to you. We can come back to it. I just didn't want to, you know, have you not finish your thoughts if there was something else.
I think we've covered all the major points.
Okay.
I truly will hope that people will really consider the foster aspect of this. That is a real key component to making this thing continue to be successful, and obviously the donating, the volunteering, and adoption. And inviting me in to talk. And Cheryl Rosenthal goes into all the schools and does wonderful work with the younger kids.
Sure.
So, you know, we're available to come into your area, your realm, and give out this information. And I promise we won't make you cry and do all that. Those are the old kind of presentations. We're going to try to keep it real positive.
That's
right.
Now. Well, one thing that we didn't touch on about the life-saving mission that I wanted to ask about, because I know when Joni and Cheryl were here the last time, pardon me, they talked about the foster homes. One of the deals would be that you then took that cat or kitten that you're fostering and you would take it into work and try and find a home for it that way. Can you explain that a little bit? And what happens if an employer doesn't allow that to happen?
Right. Part of, and I know right now they're fine-tuning the fostering into this. Sharon has put together a beautiful handbook. And part of the fostering hope is that the foster family will become a promoter of that animal. And part of the promoting would be to obviously talk it up or have pictures, talk about it at work. If an employer would offer an opportunity over a lunch hour to bring in the animal and show it off, you know, that would be a wonderful thing. Obviously, if an employer says, no, you can't do that, well, of course, that would not be it. But there's other ways to promote your animal, talk it up at parties, have pictures. You become your promoter of your own animal. I asked Sharon and Joni how our foster families are doing with that, and that's still an area that we need to work on.
Okay.
You know, and these things take time.
Sure, they're still helping out, and it does take time. It's a work in progress.
It is. This is a radical change from our former model in a very short period of time. So, you know, it's been a radical change on the staff, and the fostering thing really is taken off, and it's a great thing, and the assimilation of more volunteers and more demands placed on them. So, you know, with all the changes coming so fast, I think they're doing a really great job.
Sure. And so I guess the point is then that if somebody wants to foster, but they maybe they just don't want to take it into work, or maybe their employer truly says, I'd really rather not, they should not let that stand in their way. If they want to be a foster home, they can be a foster home.
Absolutely. I mean, they're doing, that's like the keystone to the foundation here. You know, that is a fantastic service, and what a way to give.
Sure. I had a question related to, you talked about having booths and so forth at different functions. I know I saw you guys at a pet expo a few months back that I worked for another organization that I work with, another dog organization. And so one of the things that we do in Dal Savers is we have one of our members who is very craft oriented. I mean, this woman does a lot of ceramic type stuff. She does blankets, these beautiful, very warm and fuzzy, comfortable fleece blankets and so forth. And she does up a lot of this stuff and then donates it to us that we then sell at these events.
I see.
Do you guys do anything like that, or would that be, because I know for a fact we've got a lot of artsy, fartsy, craftsy people in the community, you know, and they've got tremendous talent.
Yeah, and that's very big, and it's very popular. Right now, as far as items, that would be a fantastic venue to explore, I feel. Right now, you know, we don't have a retail center, you know, which would be great if we did have space for that, but we don't. But we do have things that are often donated to us, like jewelry items or wonderful you know, people are very talented that way, that we've sold when we're tabling or when we're representing ourselves at Pet Expos or whatever it happens to be. But that would be a fantastic way to volunteer/donate and still be helping us with a great idea.
Okay.
Great idea. I like it. I like it.
All right. Glad I could offer that up.
I like it.
So let's move on then to the holidays. They are quickly approaching, probably a little faster than most of us would like, but they are coming. We can't stop the calendar from continuing to turn.
Right.
So a couple of things. People, I don't care how much people can talk about this, there will always be someone who wants to give an animal for a gift. You know, a lot of times it's rabbits at Easter time and things like that, but you know, that temptation to give a puppy or a kitten for a gift is always there, and we do have Christmas coming. So let's talk about that, and then also just how to keep your pets safe during the holidays, because, you know, your home is probably like my home or anyone else's. It's filled with a lot of hustle and bustle during the holidays, and it's a month long. It's sometimes 6 weeks long of hustle and bustle, and so we want to touch on that. So as far as the pets, as a rule, pets should not be given as gifts.
Absolutely. Unless let's say, for example, you have a niece who really wants a kitty, and you want to pay for that adoption, you want to give that as a gift, that would be something obviously you would work with the family, come over. It's an adoption process, and a lot of us get impulsive, you know, and sometimes impulse is good, but not when it comes to animals. Right. And so, you know, if you're thinking of giving a family member a gift like this, it really needs to be, don't do it as a surprise. It needs to be discussed beforehand. It's going to come up in the adoption interview when you sit down with our adoption people and our counselors, and we want to see our animals in forever homes. Oh gosh, do we ever. But we don't want them coming back to us in 3 weeks saying, we didn't really want this, you know, and so it's hard on everybody, it's hard on the animals. So I can't tell people what to do, but I don't think it's a good idea to go that way. You know, if it's a family member, work with them on that and do it together.
Okay. All right, very good. And keeping pets safe during the holidays. You know, again, doorbell ringing, a lot of people in and out during the holidays, a lot of commotion. Things that we use to decorate our trees can be very dangerous, especially to cats. Dogs too, but especially to cats. And so let's try and touch on some of these things.
Okay.
You know, I'm not sure where you want to start, but maybe the tree trimming thing would be, since just about every one of us has a tree. Right. You know, maybe we should start there.
Yes. I'm a cat person. I have 2 at home. And I read things about decor, you know, the tinsel, stay away from that kind of thing. Cats, of course, they're intrigued with anything that's shiny and moving. They will eat that, and that just does a terrible number on them on the insides. There's 2 schools of thoughts on poinsettias and those types of plants. I have stopped bringing that kind of stuff in. I don't want to take any chance. I read some articles where it says, you know, if a dog or a cat chews them, they're okay. And then I read other articles where they're deadly. So, you know, I stay away from the live kind of plants, or I put them up. If I would have them, I would put them up high. Electrical cords, you have to be careful with dogs and cats chewing. You know, there's protective, they have these things now, you can slide over them and protect them from that type of thing. I guess I decorate high, and that didn't sound very good for TV.
No, that didn't, but I think we know what you mean.
Meaning I put everything up high. Yeah, well, I might just have been fired from my job. Anyway, I keep that stuff out of play reach and jump reach. So that's how I deal with cats. And I never feed them human food. sweets, none of that stuff has to be kept, especially for dogs too.
And
Chocolate is deadly.
Yep.
Chocolate is deadly.
Everybody well, not everybody, but a lot of people have chocolates in their homes during this time of year.
The dishes and stuff.
And so chocolate really can be very deadly to a dog in particular. So, you know, keep that stuff away.
And these little tiny lights now I see that are real popular, you know, the mini lights and stuff. You know, if I have a plant at home, I'm putting everything up high. If a dog or a cat were to chew one of those, that would be pretty detrimental.
Sure.
So.
Well, and you know, even just decorating the tree. I mean, you can't. It would look stupid, I guess, to have the tree only decorated part of the way up. At least I think.
Yes,
some people might like that kind of decor, but I think it would look silly. You know, we used to use these hooks. Most of us use these hooks for the ornaments. Now you see more and more ornaments that have, you know, it's an actual, you know, thread or some kind of material looped through, and you just sort of, you know, hang that on the branch rather than hooking something on the branch. And that certainly is a much safer thing. Those hooks, I mean, they come out easily.
Yeah, and they're all over the place even after you put stuff away. So those can be pretty hard on I mean, that can kill an animal if it gets lodged in their throat. So
it can be dangerous on your foot too if you step on it.
Absolutely, yes. And then also, I read an article. A lot of us still put up live trees. I don't anymore, but in the tree stand, people tend to add chemicals to that water too.
Oh, good point. Yep.
Yeah, and if a dog or a cat were to drink some of that, you know, and I think there's covers and things. They're selling some stands now that are kind of more contained, but they drink that chemicaled water, they can get very, very sick. I don't know if it could kill, but you know, it's just another thing to think about if you've got a live tree in the house.
Yeah, well, and not necessarily related to the holidays, but of course the really cold weather is approaching. We can't avoid that either. And antifreeze, we're going to be putting antifreeze in our cars with the cold winter coming. That is deadly to an animal. There is no question about it, and it doesn't take much. They're drawn to the sweetness. And one little lick of it can kill an animal.
Cats or dogs.
Yes.
Yeah. Also the salt spread that you put down for the ice, there's certain kinds of melts, and you need to get, even Target has the pet-friendly melt. That isn't going to hurt the paws and the feet, and it isn't going to hurt your grass, and it isn't going to hurt your concrete. You know, so something as simple as that, and you know, it's a little bit more, but who cares? It's for
you know, and if you don't use the pet safe type salt, at least if you have a pet out walking, you know, when they come home, wipe their feet off, wipe their paws off, so that they're not licking them, because you know, cats especially lick. Of course, people aren't necessarily out walking their cats, but I have seen some. But dogs tend to lick their paws too. So
they get all those chemicals. So that's another thing to think about too.
Okay, anything else on holidays and pet safety that you can think of offhand?
As I can think of offhand, I cannot.
Okay. All right. Let's see what else I have on my list here.
Uh-oh. I'm in trouble now.
No. I just, I always put together stuff here. And, I do want to just mention one thing, and not to take business away from you guys, but you may actually end up with some of these dogs. I'm not sure.
I know what's coming.
Well, no, actually, I bet you don't.
Oh, okay. Lay it on me, Cheryl.
The puppy mill thing I want to talk about, too, a little bit, and you may get some animals from there. But one thing, and I just got this email before I came over here tonight.
Okay.
And it concerned me a little bit because, of course, Dairyland racetrack in Kenosha is closing at the end of the year. And this email from this person said that there's 900 greyhounds that will be euthanized if they don't have homes. And, you know, that, of course, is alarming to anyone who loves dogs and or pets in general. And I went to Dairyland's website real quick, and they are not going to be euthanizing these animals. That's the good thing.
Good.
These animals, there's apparently a state law that says that the animal either has to be returned to its original owner or it has to be placed in a home of some kind. So it doesn't sound like they're going to be put down. But they do have greyhounds available for adoption, and I don't know if they, if they don't find homes. I know the website said that they will continue to stay there until they find homes, but circumstances for everybody change, and
Yes.
so at some point you may end up with greyhounds.
You may be seeing some of those dogs.
You may, but I know that people sometimes get, they're very breed specific as far as what they want.
Exactly.
And so if someone is, wanting specifically a greyhound, there's a place on Dairyland's website where you can go to adopt. Excuse me, there are rescues out there that are breed-specific rescues. And like you mentioned before, there are so oftentimes purebreds that come into shelters. And I think people don't understand that. Roughly, I forget what the statistics are, but isn't it roughly somewhere between 25 and 30% of the animals that come into the shelter are purebreds?
Yeah.
I know my purebred Dalmatian was going to go to a Dalmatian rescue had I not adopted her from the shelter that I did. So, I happened to see her there.
Yeah,
and,
thank goodness, huh?
But, well, she would have found a good home regardless,
Yeah.
Because I know that the rescue operation would have, worked diligently to find her a home. But it was funny because when I pulled up in the car, there was a representative from the rescue operation there walking her and doing temperament testing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who's this? And I want that dog. But anyway, so there are many options out there.
Yes.
But not to overlook an animal shelter if you want a purebred, breed-specific type
Yeah,
dog.
and we get them and we have them right now. It's incredible to me, and they're all beautiful, and they've had all the major expenses taken care of. So,
and I know, as you mentioned too, Nikki, that you guys do network with other shelters, to find something if someone is looking for something very, very specific.
Absolutely,
So,
yeah.
all right, let's talk about the thing that you thought I was going to talk about, and that is the puppy mill legislation. As we're taping this, like I mentioned before, the bill has not been signed by Governor Doyle yet, but by the time this airs, it surely will be. And that is going to have some amazing repercussions for these very irresponsible puppy mill breeders. And I know that shelters are gearing up because it's going to have a major impact where they're going to have to step up, and they're going to have to do certain things in order to meet the new legislative requirements. Some may do that.
We're hoping.
Yes. And others have already said,
no,
they're not going to. So in that case, those animals are going to have to go somewhere, and it will probably be shelters.
Yeah, it will impact us. It might not right away, but I'm sure it will at some point. And as I was reading the coverage in the newspaper on this, and then I reread our position on puppy mills, and then I was thinking, oh my goodness, we just got done with cat summer.
Yeah.
Now we're going to be, getting an influx of these kinds of animals that, in some situations are needing a lot. So that's really going to put the pressure on us again for foster help, donations, volunteers. It's an interesting business, Cheryl. We never run out of customers.
That's right. That's right. All right. We're in about 30 seconds, just real quickly. I know that you're one of the members on the new Urban Wildlife Committee.
Oh, yes.
For the city. Have you guys had your first meeting yet?
Our first meeting is I just got the phone call yesterday, December 14th. I think, yes, and it's an hour, and I think we are just going to be given rules, regulations, and process.
Okay. And so you don't really know where you're going with that yet, and
I don't know where that's going. But
we'll
I'll see where I'm going.
To talk about that at a later date.
You may have to drag me on here for that, but that's completely separate from my involvement with the Oshkosh Area Humane Society.
I just wanted to touch on it real quickly because I saw your name in the list. So. Anyway, thanks much for being here.
Thank you so much for
having
us.
And oahs.org is the website address. And
thank you.
Thanks to everything that you guys do over there.
And thank you for having us.
Absolutely, thank you. That's going to do it for us. We'll see you next time. Take good care. We'll see you next time. Lost my train.